what to look for when buying land. So welcome back. Now in today's episode, we're going to have a discussion what to look for when buying land. So I'd say step number one is determine what you want to do with the land before you buy it. So what do you want to do with that land? Are you purchasing it just to resell it quickly? Are you going to put crops on it? Are you going to develop it? You have to think about those things before you purchase the land. Okay, so if you don't know what you're purchasing it for, I'm going to tell you to go into a holding pattern until you do, because otherwise I think you'll end up buying the land and holding it for a long period of time while you figure out what to do with it. So I'd figure out what I wanted to do with that land prior to making the actual purchase. So financial success is really realistic if you have some kind of a system. So if you don't have a system, well, number one priority probably is hire a broker that's going to be able to help you with buying the land, but you need to know what it is that you're going to do. Now, that means you're going to take some research on your part. You're going to have to figure out what it is that you want to do with the land. Now, people that understand agriculture, they understand that they want cultivated land. People that are going to run cattle on the land, they understand they just want pasture land. So there's a lot of different land. So keep in mind, your objective is what you want to start with. What is the outcome that you want from purchasing this land? So that's where I'd start. All right, so it's just like a startup business. You want to figure out, are you going to do this full-time? You're going to do it part-time? Most real estate businesses can be done on a part-time basis, but you need to do a little bit more on the planning side. All right, now land is a lot easier to maintain than being in the housing business. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you just have raw land out there, you don't have to worry about leaky roofs, and you don't have to worry about whether there's going to be a fire hazard close by. Your damage can be caused in a home very easily just by having a leak over the living room, or having maybe a leaky toilet, or maybe the electrical doesn't work right, or maybe there's a faucet that's broken. All those things can cause a major crisis in a home. But with land, those kind of things don't happen. So basically, houses take a lot of maintenance, whereas land, unless you already have it cultivated or you already have it developed, it doesn't take much to take care of it. So think about what you're going to buy. Think about how much time you're going to have. Do you plan to develop the land? If you do, you don't want to do that as an amateur. You definitely want to be involved with another developer that's going to help you do that, and brokers can help you with that. So I'm going to say find a broker that knows how to buy and sell land, then decide which kind of land that you're going to own. But you know that you're going to need professionals at all times to help you with this business. Now, real estate brokers are already familiar. If they're land brokers, they're familiar with coordinating with developers, and they're familiar with coordinating with people that have land that's going to have cultivation and things like that. All right, so it's not just the location that you're thinking of. What are you thinking about? Well, if you're thinking about developing the land, is that land going to be close enough so kids can go to school? Are you going to be able to attach to roads so that you can get, so people can get in and out? What about water? Where is the water coming from? People can't survive without water. So is the county water already to the land? Are the utilities already there? If you haven't thought about those things, well, you better start thinking about it ahead of time. You wouldn't want to build a whole subdivision and then there was no utilities to the subdivision. There was no water. Now that sounds crazy, but people do stuff like that. So there's no survival without water. So you must know where the county water is and what it's going to take to attach to it. Same kind of thing with utilities. Are you going to need power on that land? Well, if you're just using it for grazing, you might not need power. If you're going to use it for cultivation, well, what if you have to do irrigation, things like that? So you need to have a plan on how you're going to do that. If you're going to do a development for land, it's one thing. If you're going to do a development that's going to be for homes, well, they're going to have water. So if you don't have water, are you going to use wells? All right, well, a well sounds pretty simple, but how deep do you have to go to get good water? That might be a very costly thing. If you have to go down to 500 feet, you're not going to do that for nickels and dimes. Okay, the point is, everything that has to do with the land, you'll have to take care of when you start buying land. So you can't have land, put housing on it without having sewerage. So are you going to have, is it going to connect to the county sewer, or are you going to put septic? You're going to have to think about all those things. Now with developable land, well, you have to think of all those things yourself. However, if you buy in a development, it's already done. So I found kind of an easy way to be able to do this business. And what I figured out real quick was you could buy land that had already been developed. And who are you going to buy it from? Well, of course, you could buy it from a developer. But I found out that the tax man forecloses on these properties on a regular basis. So what happens? Well, people start building and they spend all their money, they run out of money, and they can't pay their taxes. So now what's going to happen? Well, if they can't pay the taxes, well, what are we going to do? Well, if they don't pay the tax, I can tell you right now, the county treasurer is going to levy the tax, then they're going to try to collect the tax, and if they can't collect the tax, guess what? What they're going to do is they're going to take action, and they're going to seize the property, they're going to confiscate the property, take whoever or whatever's on the property, and they're going to move them off the property, and now they're going to resell that property. Now, maybe the people got into developing it and they didn't know anything about easements, they didn't know anything about zoning. Those are all things that you have to be thinking about when you're developing property, and it costs a lot of money to do all these things. So it might be that the property just had way too many mortgages on it. If they had a mortgage or a deed of trust on it and the developer couldn't pay it, well, now they're not paying that and they're not paying the tax. So the problem is the county is going to take action, and they're not going to allow that property to just sit there. So what is the county going to do? Well, the county is going to foreclose. They're going to do what they call a seizure and a confiscation, and then they're going to sell it at the tax defaulted auction. All right, now, if you could buy land at a tax defaulted auction, well, what's going to really happen then? Well, I can tell you some major things are going to happen. You're not going to have to worry about easements anymore, because now what's going to happen is that property's coming up for auction, and it's coming up for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. Huge discounts are given by the county. Why is the county giving discount? Because they want to accelerate the sale. They want to get rid of the property and get it off the county book. So what do? They discount the property 60%, 70%, 80%. So they're really making huge discounts on the property. Why are they doing that? Because they want to get rid of it fast, and they want to get money in so the county can pay their bills. Tax defaulted properties are not paying their bills, so they need to get that money in quickly. They take that money and they pay the county employees, they pay for the school teachers, they pay for the firefighters, pay for the police department. You're getting the idea. So all this has to happen. So I found out the easy way to do business in land is to go to the tax defaulted auction, where I could find about 25% of the properties are going to be land. Now, how did they get that way? Well, these properties were bought and no one paid the taxes. Now, the taxes aren't paid. Here's what's going to happen. Legislature will take action. The legislature will say to the county, you must levy tax, collect tax. If you can't collect tax, then you're going to have to seize the property, resell it, and get it back on the tax roll. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And when that happens, they're going to sell those properties at 60, 70, and 80% discounts. So I learned 30 years ago about this business, and I found out that all 3,000 counties are selling properties at tax defaulted auction. Now, what do they sell? They sell single-family homes. They're going to sell small apartments, residential vacant land, just vacant land itself. There's all kinds of properties at the tax defaulted auction. Now, when I can buy there, I'm going to get huge discounts because the county just wants to get rid of the property. Now, sometimes it's 20 acres, sometimes it's 50 acres, it could be 100 acres. So it turns out that nationwide, all 3,000 counties are going to sell tax defaulted property, all 3,000 counties, and they're going to discount those properties to get rid of them. So the legislature makes the rules. They pass that down to the county supervisors. The supervisors make sure that the county treasurer seizes the property, and when they seize the property, then they're going to sell it at a public auction. Anybody can go to that auction. These properties will sell for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, and guess what? There is no mortgage on the property, no mortgage whatsoever. This is happening in 3,000 counties across the United States. All counties are authorized to have at least one auction every single year. Huge discounts take place. So you can expect 5,000 auctions this year. Of those 5,000 auctions, you can attend any you want. The majority of those auctions are now taking place online. All right, so if you want to talk about vacant land, well, they're going to have vacant land, they're going to have homes, they're going to have complete subdivisions. I've had clients of mine buy complete subdivisions where the developer went absolutely broke. Now, this business has been around for 200 years. I didn't invent it, but I can tell you there's people that buy these properties at auctions, and they buy them for pennies. Why do they get them for pennies? Because the county wants rid of tax defaulted property. So this is nothing more than a subset of the traditional real estate business. I have people that buy in subdivisions, and instead of paying $20,000 for a vacant residential lot, they're getting them for $200 and $800 and $1,000. Why? Because the county is just dumping them to get rid of them. So if you bought it for $1,000 and it had a value of $25,000, that margin in between those two, between what you bought it for and what the selling price is, that's all money that you get to keep. All right, now my name is Ted Thomas. I've been involved in the tax lien and deed business for over 30 years. If you'd like to have a sample auction list, you can go right below me and request a sample auction list. If you are going to buy at tax defaulted property auctions, what you need to do is you need to be sure that you go there and look at the property. In other words, you put your boots on the ground so that you can see that the property's really there. You probably don't want to buy a property next to a chicken farm. If you haven't checked it, you don't know if they had a fire, you don't know if there's been a flood, you don't know if there's been a windstorm. The point is you need to check properties before you head to the auction and actually buy. Another thing you need to think about is your exit strategy. The beauty of this business is you can know what your selling price is before you buy. So if you don't know what your selling price is, don't buy it. If you're going to buy residential land or any kind of land, know what you're going to do with it before you buy it. I'm Ted Thomas.